I'm going to show you 100 tips in Anki to go from starter to pro. For those who don't know, I'm a 5th year medical student from Switzerland. I got you the timestamps in the description, now let's jump into it. To install Anki, go to apps.ankiweb.net. Here you can choose between the two versions Qt5 and Qt6. Each version has some advantages and disadvantages, which you can find on the website as well. A deck is a group of cards. You can place cards in different decks to study parts of your card collection instead of studying everything at once. Decks can contain other decks, which allows you to organize decks into a tree. Anki uses two columns to show different levels. A deck called Chinese Hanzi refers to a Hanzi deck, which is part of a Chinese deck. If you select Hanzi, then only the Hanzi cards will be shown. If you select Chinese, then all Chinese cards including Hanzi cards will be shown. To place decks into a tree, you can either name them with two columns between each level or drag and drop them from the deck list. Decks that have been nested under another deck are often called subdecks. If you want to create new cards, click Add in the main window and the Add Nodes window will appear. The top left of the window shows us the current node type. By default, there are some standard node types, which are Basic, has front and back fields and will create one card. Text you enter in front will appear on the front of the card, and text you enter in back will appear on the back of the card. Basic and reversed card. Like Basic, but creates two cards for the text you enter, one from front, back, and one from back, front, resulting in two cards out of one node. Basic, optional reversed card. This is a front back card and optionally a back front card. To do this, it has a third field called Add Reverse. If you enter any text into that field, a reverse card will be created. Basic, type in the answer. This is essentially basic, with an extra text box on the front, where you can type your answer in. After flipping to the back, your input would be checked and compared with the answer. Cloze, a node type which makes it easy to select text and turn it into a cloze deletion. For example, man landed on the moon in ... which is man landed on the moon in 1969. The top right of the window shows us the deck cards will be added to. If you would like to add cards to a new deck, you can click on the deck name button and then click add. Front and back are called fields, and you can add, remove and rename them by clicking the fields button above. Below the fields is another area labeled tags. Tags are labels that you can attach to your nodes to make organizing and finding nodes easier. You can leave the tags blank if you wish, or add one or more of them. Tags are separated by a space. If the tags area says, for example, cardio, check with tutor, then the node you add would have two tags. When you have entered text into the front and back, you can click the Add button or press Ctrl plus Enter or Command plus Enter on a Mac to add the node to your collection. If you would like to edit a card you added, you can click the History button to search for a recently added card in the browser. Editing font allows you to customize the font and size used when editing nodes. This is useful if you want to make unimportant information smaller, for example. Sort by this field tells Anki to show this field in the sort field column of the browser. You can use this to sort cards by that field. Only one field can be the sort field at once. Reverse text direction is useful if you are studying languages that display text from right to left, such as Arabic. Shared decks. Click the Get Shared button at the bottom of the deck list. When you found a deck you're interested in, click the Download button to download a deck package. Double-click on the downloaded package to load it into Anki. On the deck screen, your decks will be displayed in a list. There are 3 columns. New is the number of new cards that are ready to be learned that day. The second column shows the number of cards currently in learning. Due is the count of waiting reviews. When you click on a deck, it will become the current deck, and Anki will change to the study screen. You can return to the deck list to change the currently selected deck at any time by clicking on Decks at the top of the main window. You can click the Gears button to the right of a deck to rename or delete a deck, change its options or export it. When you click on options, you'll find many settings. Every setting is explained in detail if you put your mouse on the info button next to the setting name. Each deck can have different settings, such as how many new cards to show each day, or how long to wait until cards are shown again. We'll have a closer look at each setting later in the video. Anki allows you to share options between different decks to make updating options in many decks at once easy. To do this, options are grouped into presets. By default, all newly created decks use the same preset. Click the arrow icon in the top right of the deck options window. The options are Add a new preset with the default options. Clone your current preset, which is useful if you just want to modify certain options, keeping the rest as they are. Rename changes the name of the current preset. Delete deletes the current preset. Save to all subdecks assigns the selected preset to all subdecks of the currently selected deck. Save saves all modifications you've made since opening the deck option screen. If your deck has subdecks, each deck can optionally be assigned a different preset. After clicking on a deck to study, you'll see a screen that shows you how many cards are due today. This is called the deck overview screen. The cards are split into three types. New refers to cards that you have downloaded or entered in, but have never been studied before. Learning refers to cards that were seen for the first time recently and are still being learned. To review refers to cards that were previously learned and now need to be reviewed so you don't forget them. To start a study session, click the Study Now button. Anki will proceed to show you cards until the cards to be shown for the day have run out. While studying, you can return to the overview by pressing the S key on your keyboard. When a card is shown, only the question is shown at first. After thinking about the answer, either click the Show Answer button or press the spacebar. The answer will then be shown. When learning new cards or when relearning cards that you have forgotten, Anki will show you the cards one or more times to help you memorize them. Each time is called a learning step. By default, there are two steps, 1 minute and 10 minutes. You can change the number of steps and the delays between them in the deck options. Again, moves the card back to the first step. Hard repeats the current step after the first step and is the average of again and good on the first step. Good moves the card to the next step. If the card was on the final step, the card is converted into a review card. It graduates. By default, once the card has reached the end of the learning steps, the card will be shown again the next day, then at increasingly long delays. Easy immediately converts the card into a review card, even if there were steps remaining. By default, the card will be shown again 4 days later, and then at increasingly long delays. To sum up, when a card is seen for the first time, they start at step 1. This means answering good on a card for the first time will show it one more time in 10 minutes. And the initial 1 minute step will be skipped. If you push again though, the card will come back in 1 minute. Now back to the options. New cards per day controls how many new cards are introduced each day you open the program. If you study fewer than the limit or miss a day, the next day the counts will be back to your limit. They do not accumulate. Maximum reviews per day allows you to set an upper limit on the number of reviews to show each day. When this limit is reached, Anki will not show any more review cards for the day, even if there are some waiting. New cards. The settings in this section only affect new cards and cards in initial learning mode. Once a card has graduated, for example, there are no more learning steps for this card, it becomes a review card, and the settings in this section are no longer applicable. Learning steps controls the number of learning repetitions and the delay between them. One or more delays separated by spaces must be entered. Each time you press good during review, the card moves to the next step. For example, in this case, you got 1 minute and 10 minutes and 1 day. Let's repeat it on this example. When you press again with this preset, the card goes back to first step and will be shown again approximately 1 minute later. When you press good on a new card or a card answered again, it will move to the next step and be shown again in approximately 10 minutes. When you press good on a card after the 10-minute step, it will be delayed until the next day. When you press good on the card the next day, it will leave learning, which means it will graduate and become a review card. It will be shown again after the delay configured by the graduating interval. So the graduating interval is the delay in days between answering good on a learning card with no steps left and seeing the card again as a review card. Easy interval is the delay between answering easy on a learning card and seeing it in review mode for the first time. The easy button immediately turns a learning card into a review card and assigns it the delay you have configured. Insertion order controls whether Anki should add new cards into the deck randomly or in order. Lapses. When you forget a review card, it is said to have lapsed and the card must be relearned. Relearning steps is the same as learning steps, but for forgotten reviews. When you fail a card, meaning you press again, the card enters the relearning phase, and before it becomes a review card again, you will have to pass all the relearning steps, or alternatively, press easy on the card. Minimum interval specifies a minimum number of days a card should wait after it finishes relearning. The default is 1 day, meaning once relearning is finished, it will be shown again the next day. Leeches are cards that you keep on forgetting. Because they require so many reviews, they take up a lot more of your time than the other cards. Each time a review card lapses, meaning is failed while it is in review mode, a counter is increased. When that counter reaches 8, or the number you selected, the node is tagged as a leech and the card is suspended. In leech action, you can decide whether to suspend leech cards or just tag them as leeches. Anki monitors how long it takes you to answer each question, so that it can show you how long was spent studying each day. The time taken does not influence scheduling. The default limit is 60 seconds. If you take longer than that, Anki assumes you have walked away from your computer or have been distracted, and limits the recorded time to 60 seconds, so that you don't end up with inaccurate statistics. To understand burying, we need to remember that Anki can create more than one card for each thing you input, such as front back card and a back front card. When you answer a card that has siblings, Anki can prevent the card's sibling from being shown in the same session by automatically burying them. Buried cards are hidden from review until the clock rolls over to a new day. Audio. By default, Anki automatically plays audio on the front and back of cards. If you click Don't Play Audio automatically, Anki will not play audio until you press the Replay Audio key R or F5. Skip question when replaying answer. This button controls whether audio from the question side should be played when replaying the audio while an answer is shown. Maximum interval allows you to place an upper limit on the time Anki will wait to re-show a card. The default is 100 years. You can decrease this to a smaller number if you're willing to trade extra study time for higher retention. Starting ease controls the easiness that cards start out with. It is set when a card graduates from learning for the first time. It defaults to 250, meaning that once you have finished learning a card, answering good on subsequent reviews will increase the delay by approximately 2.5 times. For example, if the last delay was 10 days, the next delay will be around 25 days. Based upon how you rate the card in subsequent reviews, the easiness may increase or decrease from its starting value. Easy bonus is an extra multiplier applied to the interval when a review card is answered easy with the default value of 1.30. Easy will give an interval that is 1.3 times the good interval. For example, if the good interval was 10 days, the easy interval would be around 13 days. Interval modifier, an extra multiplier that is applied to all reviews. At its default of 1.0, it does nothing. If you set it to 0.8 though, intervals will be generated at 80% of their normal size. So a 10-day interval will become 8 days. You can thus use the multiplier to make Anki present cards more or less frequently. Hard interval is the multiplier used when you use the hard button. New interval is the multiplier used when you use the again button on a review card. The default 0 means that the review card's delay is reset to 0 when you forget it, which then becomes 1 day after the minimum interval is applied. When studying, either space or enter will show the answer. You can then use the 1, 2, 3 or 4 keys on your keyboard to select a particular button, where 1 is again. Pressing space or enter here will select good. If there are no other cards to show you, Anki will show relearning cards again, even if their delay has not elapsed completely. If you'd prefer to wait the full learning delay, you can change this behavior in Preferences, Scheduling, Learn Ahead Limit. The delays are different when you review cards rather than learn or relearn cards. At the bottom right of the review screen is a button labeled More. This button provides some other operations you can do on the current card or note. Flag card adds a colored marker to the card or toggles it off. Flags will appear during study and you can search for flagged cards in the browse screen. This is useful when you want to take some action on the card at a later date, such as looking up a word. Bury card note hides a card or all of the note's cards from review until the next day. If you want to unbury cards before then, you can click the Unbury button on the deck overview screen. This is useful if you cannot answer the card at the moment or you want to come back to it another time. Burying can also happen automatically for cards of the same note. Forget card. Move current card to the end of the new queue. Set due date. Put cards in the review queue and make them due on a certain date. Suspend card note hides a card or all of the note's cards from review until they are manually unsuspended by clicking the suspend button in the browser. Create copy opens a duplicate of the current note in the editor, which can be slightly modified to easily obtain variations of your cards. By default, the duplicate card will be created in the same deck as the original. Delete note deletes the note and all of its cards. Replay audio. If the card has audio on the front or back, play it again. Audio -5 seconds plus 5 seconds. Jump backwards, forward 5 seconds in the currently playing audio. Record own voice. Record from your microphone for the purposes of checking your pronunciation. This recording is temporary and will go away when you move to the next card. If you want to add audio to a card permanently, you can do that in the edit window. Replay own voice. Replay the previous recording of your voice, presumably after showing the answer. Anki Web is a service that allows you to keep your collection synchronized across multiple devices and to study online. Sign up for a free account on ankiweb.net to use its service. To start syncing your collection across devices, click the sync button, the top right one on the main screen, or press Y on your keyboard. You'll be prompted for your Anki Web ID and password, which you created in the sign up process. The browse window allows you to search through your cards and notes and edit them. It is opened by clicking browse in the main window or by pressing B. It is comprised of 3 sections: the sidebar on the left, the card note table on the top right, and the editing area on the bottom right. Anki offers 2 modes. You can change the current mode by clicking the switch at the top. You can delete or rename tags, decks, and saved searches directly from the sidebar from the right-click menu. Above the card list is a search box. You can type in various things there to search for cards. At the top of the browser window, you'll find a toolbar with various menus which offer various actions that can be performed in the browser. At the bottom of the screen, when you click on a deck, the Custom Study button appears. Here you can increase today's new card limit, today's review card limit, and modify other settings. You can also preview cards that you have recently added, without converting them to review cards as they are answered. Advanced users can create filtered decks with arbitrary search strings, instead of relying on the preset filters. To create a filtered deck manually, choose Create Filtered Deck from the Tools menu. When you click the Build button, Anki finds cards that match the settings you specified and temporarily moves them from their existing decks into a new filtered deck for study. The Statistics window is accessed by clicking on Stats button at the top of the main window or by pressing T. The Statistics window will show statistics from the currently selected deck and any subdecks. If you select the checkbox Collection at the top, statistics will be shown for your entire collection instead. Clicking on Save PDF at the bottom will save a PDF document of the statistics. To install add-ons, go to Tools in the top bar, then click on Add-ons, then Get Add-ons. If you have a code already, paste it here. If not, click on Browse, Add-ons, and find them. I'm gonna show you one add-on which is really useful. It is called Image Occlusion Enhanced. Scroll down and copy the code. then paste it here and it will be downloaded automatically. With this add-on, you can hide parts of an image with this rectangle. I usually go for hide all, guess one, which lets me test my knowledge piece by piece. If you watch this whole video until the end and you still have questions left, then I'd recommend you go to faqs.ankiweb.net to see frequently asked questions and hopefully find your answer. Thank you so much for watching and see you in the next one. Bye.